All right, everyone. Welcome to this recorded presentation for our 2026 Next Steps to Independence event in partnership with Easterseals Lone Tree Arts Center and Developmental Pathways. This presentation will cover some of the tenets that you want to consider as your young adult or maybe adult is transitioning to adult services, which we realize is such a critical time in anyone's life. I'm going to be your initial speaker, but you'll have several other speakers in this presentation. So let me kick off by introducing myself. My name is Rachel Walker. I'm the Associate Director of Community Affairs at Developmental Pathways. I have been in the disability community now for over 20 years. I'm part of the community engagement team now at Developmental Pathways, and 18 of my years have been at Developmental Pathways. I am also a huge lover of thrifting, spending time with my family and my 3-year-old, and then any kind of podcast that has nothing to do with learning or advancing my brain in any way, just podcasts to help me unwind. You'll hear little snippets about all of our presenters because it's just nice to know who's speaking at you sometimes. As developmental pathways, as I'm representing developmental pathways, I would be happy to share with you just a quick bird's eye view of what DP looks like today. So we are your case management agency serving Arapahoe, Douglas, and Elbert counties. This translates to serving around 25,000 or more people in those areas, serving the life spectrum from birth to death and everything in between. This also means we have around 630 staff right now. Developmental Pathways is that case management agency for a designated service area. But it's good to know for anyone online that if you're beyond those areas, that these programs available at Developmental Pathways are available statewide. So here's some reasons why you want to listen in to this portion of the presentation and some reasons why you might want to connect with your case management agency. If you're in school, we're a lovely complement to school district services. So we realize usually your Monday through Friday is kind of covered by your school district. But what happens when your student, let's say, exists on the weekends or in the evenings or during school breaks? Developmental Pathways or your case management agency has some services that can support home and community-based living. There's no cost to services or programs. These programs are either state or federally funded. Developmental Pathways is also very lucky to have some locally funded programming. Our programs allow you access to additional resources. So that's funding towards things like maybe respite care or therapeutic rec. It also might be additional connections to different providers or agencies that you could be working with. And then the most critical to this conversation today, we become one of the major supports as students may be transferring to adult services. So if you have someone in your care that's either 18, maybe they're going into their transition program and exiting at 21, and you're wondering, what the heck happens after school district ends? Developmental Pathways can lean in and support at that point in time. All right, now I'm going to pass it off to our next speaker. Megan, you are up.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. So my name is Megan Bowser. I am the Executive Director at Family Voices Colorado. I was a math teacher in this world long before my kiddos were born. But when they came along and changed our lives, then I switched to being a disability advocate now. So I've been at Family Voices Colorado for 5 years now. And I have 4 kiddos, 2 of whom have disabilities and 2 of whom have their own special, unique needs. Next slide. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how we're going to spend our time together. So we've got a fantastic group of people here to present to you and give you some vital information. We will give each person a chance to introduce themselves before they speak so you can learn about their backgrounds, where they are, where they're coming from as well. So first, we're going to do some presentations here, and then for those in the live sessions, we'll have some question and answer and resource fair, but we're glad you're able to watch these presentations with us today. All right, so up first, we have Tiffany. I'll let you introduce yourself to the group.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Tiffany Cron, and I am the director of the Colorado Office of Employment First. I have worked in the disability field since 2006, doing many different roles, including direct care and service provision. And I am also one of Colorado's person-centered thinking trainers. I can't separate that from my identity. That is definitely who I am. And I'm also currently serving as your vice president for our Colorado chapter of the Association for People Supporting Employment First, or you might also hear it known as APSE. All right, well, let's get into it. Next slide. So as mentioned, I represent the Colorado Office of Employment First, and we are a program of JFK Partners, which is the University Center of Excellence for Developmental Disabilities at the University of Colorado. And we envision a culture of inclusive, meaningful, and competitive employment for all people. And we do that through our mission by leading Colorado and beyond towards equitable employment for all people through collaboration, our systems innovation, and training excellence work. But essential to today's presentation, we're going to be talking a lot about foundational succession planning. So next slide. Here on this slide, we have a video that we are going to play for you. And we know that part of being a family member and planning for the future can feel very overwhelming. And this is one of those things. But for the past 2 years, we have had the opportunity to partner with the Colorado Developmental Disabilities Council to offer free foundational succession planning for families. So we've prepared a short video for you. So let's watch the video and then I will share a little bit more about what we offer. So go ahead and enjoy the video.
Foundational Succession Planning for Families. A free limited time opportunity to receive support in planning for your family member's future. Generously funded by the Colorado Developmental Disabilities Council.
How will I care for my loved one when I'm no longer able to?
How will benefits be affected when my loved one receives their inheritance?
I have no idea what resources are available. I have always done everything.
This is too overwhelming to think about. I don't want to think about my mortality.
I don't have time. My schedule is too busy. There will be time later to do this.
This is too upsetting to my loved one to have these conversations about me not being here forever.
There is disagreement within the family on what to do when I am gone. I feel stuck. I don't know who I can trust, who can be reliable and competent to provide support and care in my absence. I'm ready for support. The fabric of Colorado is families who support each other. Did you know there are 127,000 people in Colorado who have an intellectual and developmental disability? 73% of people with an intellectual and developmental disability in Colorado live with their family, but their family is aging. In fact, 20,000 adults with an intellectual and developmental disability live with caregivers over the age of 60. Who will provide the support and services people need to enjoy a meaningful life and reach their goals when family caregivers are no longer able? Foundational succession planning involves making a plan for the future of a family member with a disability. Foundational succession planning may include things like where you live and future living arrangements. Money and benefits, securing a financial future for your family member that includes pursuing employment goals. Knowing the plan. Working together with your family member with a disability in developing and understanding the plan. Family duties and caregiving responsibilities. Identifying your team and making sure whoever will be involved in future care arrangements are up to speed with all the support agencies or networks currently in place. Decision-making considerations like legal resources and information about different levels of decision-making support. Who is responsible for foundational succession planning? It is the caregiver's responsibility to create a succession plan for their family member with a disability. It's important to prioritize the time to have these discussions and identify the supports and services that will be the right fit for your family member. If it sounds like an overwhelming process, there are resources and support to help guide you. Are you ready to start foundational succession planning? The Colorado Office of Employment First and the Colorado Developmental Disabilities Council are excited to offer a limited-time opportunity to receive free foundational succession planning guidance and support. It's never too early to start planning for the future. Scan the QR code or visit www.employmentfirstcolorado.org/foundational-succession-planning to learn more and sign up for free foundational succession planning. This video was developed by the Colorado Office of Employment First in partnership with Lehman Disability Planning and funded by the Colorado Developmental Disabilities Council.
Excellent. Hopefully you enjoyed that video that really explains all about what we're doing. We know succession planning can feel complex, but it's a process. It's not a one-time decision. Starting early helps create that stability, preserve your choice, and ensures the voices of you and your family are heard. So our goal is to help families take just those first important steps. So how do we do that? Well, networks and connections matter. A significant part of planning for the future really relies on others and who can be there to help. And so where do we look? We look at all of our networks, all of the people in our life, past, present, and who have gifts and talents that they could lend to help provide support in the future. You are leveraging not only your network, but the network of your loved ones too. So what do you do if your network is small? We know that it does take a team. No one person can really do everything that we do. So it's a shift from who will take care of my loved one when I am gone to who already knows my loved one, and how do we strengthen and document those relationships now? So you might be in a scenario where you need to strengthen and build up your networks. So my recommendation that I have for all of you is to begin mapping out and documenting your networks. Look at who you know and where are their gaps. So here are some examples of areas that you could look at to strengthen your network. You could start by looking at your immediate network, so your family, your friends, your neighbors. Then you can map out additional supports through your connections from within your community, maybe faith-based organizations. And think back to the past and to present educators, mentors, coaches, anybody along the way. And don't forget to consider them as part of future team members. It could be your colleagues and other providers that could be included in your support network. Strong networks are the foundation for building a support team that is rooted in common vision for the desired, meaningful life of your loved one. So, here, of course, some next steps that you can take to engage in our foundational succession planning, as was mentioned in the video, but we're really all about building your network, building your plan. So if you need help, our office is here to help. We are doing this through July of 2026, hoping for a continuation into next year, but we are doing it right now. So you can sign up through our website. Our link is there. Information is going to be handed out. And if you're coming to the actual event, we will be there in person, but we will help you identify a few priority goals to help get you started. And we have tools to help you create a financial snapshot that will help inform your planning, that can also help you get connected to professional resources such as exploring estate planning, trusts, and benefits, to seeking assistance from legal and financial planners. So I'm going to leave you with one last slide of information. You do not need to finish the plan, just begin it. Succession planning isn't about having everything figured out. It's about starting with relationships, digging in, finding some clarity, and having a shared vision for the future. So with that, I have the great privilege of introducing you to your next speaker, Kevney, who's going to talk all about financial planning. So go ahead, Kevney.
And thank you so much, Tiffany. It is such a pleasure to be here. Yes, my name is Kevney Sharp. It's a weird one, and I am a certified financial planner. I'm one of the few chartered special needs consultants here in Colorado, and I'm also an accredited estate planner. I'm a financial advisor with a company, Mariner Wealth Advisors, here in town. And you can see that I've been around a minute with 30 plus years in helping families build their financial plans. And it was indeed 9 years ago that I earned that designation of Chartered Special Needs Consultant. I've been very active in helping families plan in this very specialized area since then. And of course, maybe most important, I am mom to an adult daughter with a disability, and she's 36 years old. So I've been walking this walk for quite a while. Next slide, please. So, planning for our children's security. This is why we're all paying attention to these informational events. But where do we start? So, we're all familiar with the Stephen Covey phrase of begin with the end in mind. And for us, we all know if we want to develop a plan, if we have clarity as to where we want to end up, it's a lot easier to build a plan to get there. So you're going to want to thoughtfully consider what you want your child's life to look like. Ask them. Create your ideal but realistic vision. The next step is to create a letter of intent, a letter of instruction, or it could be called a letter of memorandum. This is a narrative of your child. You want to capture all you know about your child's so that should they suddenly be in the care of a new caregiver, you are giving that new caregiver such wonderful information to help in this transition, which might be amidst chaos and fear and confusion. Now, this isn't a legal document. However, it is invaluable for that potential new caregiver, but also it can be used by trustees to help guide them in making decisions around distributions. Now, the financial planning pieces. We're going to start with identifying how much you spend out of your pocket for care and supports now. How will those expenses change over time? Now, envision you've passed away. How do they change then? Of course, we can't be completely accurate because we don't know what the future holds, but we can make assumptions to plan toward and change those over time as new information becomes available. Now you capture or you compare your current expenses with what resources might be available. Typically, we have resource number one, mom and dad, and then perhaps public benefits. So importantly, mom and dad, you have to have your plan in place for your needs now and through retirement to better understand what might be available to pass along as support and as a resource to your child at your death. Regardless of how much you may be able to leave your child, you need to know how to navigate the rules of our complex financial road. Next slide, please. Now, there might be some help through public benefits, and there are two broad categories, those that are means tested and those that are entitlement benefits. First, means tested benefits. You'll start with these, and as soon as your child is 18, this first one is a benefit from Social Security, of course, a federal program known as SSI, or Supplemental Security Income. And from the state, you may qualify, your child might qualify for disability-based Medicaid, and the agency that administers that is Healthcare Policy and Finance. Now, means testing means there are financial limitations or restrictions involved in qualifying for these benefits. Your child, now they're 18, cannot have more than $2,000 in their name, and they have to have low income, not to exceed what's called substantial gainful activity, or SGA, which in 2026 is $1,690 a month. You'll find applying for SSI is indeed an arduous process. And note, 70% of all initial applications are initially denied. but it is worth the effort to appeal, because if qualified, your child is going to receive in 2026, that number is $994 a month. Now, historically, this increases every year by Social Security's inflation index. This $994 is supposed to provide for food and shelter. Therefore, if your child lives with you, Social Security considers you are providing shelter, and they will reduce that $994 by 1/3, or $332, unless you charge your child, sounds crazy, rent for at least that amount. Now, good news here in Colorado, when your child qualifies for SSI, they automatically also qualify for Medicaid. This provides payment for medical care, but importantly, through waivers, payment for wonderful services designed to aid your child, allow your child to live as independently as possible. Now, if you don't want to wait for that SSI approval, which could take some time, so that you can have access to Medicaid and those fantastic waiver benefits, you can apply for disability-based Medicaid directly from the state once, again, your child is 18. That approval process may be considerably faster than working through the SSI process. For those kiddos eager to work, no problem, but be mindful of that SGA income limit and know there is an offset between wages and SSI. Even so, it is still beneficial for anyone to work for so many non-financial reasons: community, camaraderie, sense of purpose, new friendships, and more. So next, we're going to talk about entitlement benefits. And with these, there is no asset restriction, but there is still that little 2000 number, but there is still a limitation on income. So SSI, Social Security Disability Income, is something that with your child so young, it isn't most likely relevant, because the traditional SSDI is based on you as a worker's work history, and they don't have one yet. However, I do want you to know about a wonderful benefit, SSDI, Disabled Adult Child Benefit, also known as SSDI Childhood Disability Benefit. This benefit is awarded based on mom or dad's Social Security retirement benefit. If your child qualifies, they can receive up to 50% of your benefit when you retire. And when you pass, that changes to 75% of your retirement benefit. And it lasts for their lifetime. Obviously, this is very helpful for long-term planning regarding resources. Next slide, please. Now, we have considered what might be available through public benefits, but how do we maintain qualification for these public resources throughout our child's life and when we want to provide more? So first thing, ABLE accounts. I think of them as the best thing since sliced bread. These accounts allow money to be saved without affecting your child's SSI or Medicaid benefits. Money in these accounts can be used for qualified disability expenses, which has a very broad definition. They grow tax deferred, and when they come out, it's actually tax free. Now, wonderfully, we have here in Colorado a resource, Mike Keglovitz, and be sure you research him if you'd like more information, or you can go to coloradoable.org. Now, while ABLE accounts are incredibly useful, they're not designed to be our wealth transfer vehicle when we pass. This is when you will need a special needs trust. Like ABLE accounts, these allow money to be available to your child without affecting means testing benefits. However, this structure provides oversight and spending guidance that your child may need. Importantly, they also help provide protection against predators. Trust documents must be drafted by attorneys who are highly skilled in a specialized area of estate planning. Just like financial advisors, estate planning attorneys who have this expertise are a very small subset of their universe. When a trust is in place, someone has to be in charge of it, and that is the trustee. The decision of who acts in this role is a very important one. They're not only making distributions when needed, but filing tax returns, staying abreast of relevant tax law, tax and law changes, and they're also providing accounting to the courts and more. You may be thinking a brother or a sister is a good choice for this role, but it is a huge responsibility, and unknowing mistakes can disqualify your child from their public benefits. So this is high stakes. Perhaps more importantly, when a sibling is the trustee and the beneficiary, the sibling with a disability has to look to them for money for this or that, and the sibling trustee has to say no because of the language in the trust document. How do you think this affects the relationship between the two? I know of two separate sets of siblings that can't stand each other because of this dynamic. One of those two sets ended up in a court battle. I don't think this is what mom and dad wanted to have happen. Instead, you might want that loving family member, sibling perhaps, in the role of a trust protector, where they can still be very involved, and yet you're going to then include a professional trustee for all of that detailed administration. You will want to explore naming a professional trustee. You can learn about what professional trustees can do by researching who is available, and if needed, I can provide you with folks that do a great job there. Now, we do need to take a look at the next slide because we're considering the holistic planning for your family. Special needs planning is just part of your overall plan for your family. Make sure you are on a path to provide for your security and then integrate your child's needs into your plan. Put your mask on first. And just like Tiffany suggested, you might not have everything in perfect order, but begin the process now. Over time, your plan will have to change as life unfolds. But the more time you have, the better, especially if there needs to be a course correction. Next slide, please. In the world that I work in as an investment advisor and financial planner, I always have to have disclosures to say, I'm not guaranteeing any returns and such. So there you go. And then the next slide. If you would like to have a deeper dive into the information that I've just touched on briefly, periodically I do provide a free virtual classes specifically on special needs financial planning. And I do have a couple coming up, and they are the first one's May 13th and May 14th. And please do talk to me or reach out to me to learn more about those and ones I have in the future beyond that. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Kevney, and thank you, Tiffany. Such great information going forward. And I love that theme of just start now. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get started. Well, I'm back. A reminder, I'm Megan Bowser with Family Voices Colorado. I just want to touch on a couple Medicaid-related things as we think about this long-term planning. Kevney addressed that some in there, touching on the fact that these benefits programs can be really helpful as you're looking at that long-term planning for now and for longer into the future as well. So a couple things have changed recently that I just want to quickly highlight so that you're aware that these are different. And if you've been thinking and started plans, you might need to pivot a little bit from there too. So one of those pieces is the recent changes with the DD or developmental disabilities waiver. So there's sort of three different parts that have changed in this, and we'll highlight each one of them individually. Next slide, please. All right. So the first is talking about what they call churn enrollment on the DD waiver. So the developmental disabilities waiver has a wait list. It's the only waiver in the state that has one. And there's a process for how they take people off of that waiting list. So right now, as things have been, For every one person that comes off of the waiver, one person comes off the waiting list and gets added onto the waiver. So people might leave because they move out of state, because they pass away, because they decide a different program is a better fit. For whatever reason, one comes off, one goes on to the waiver. Because of the budget crisis the state is in, they're switching that. Instead of, it will take two people coming off of the DD waiver for one person to come on to the waiver. So it's essentially half as many people will come on to the waiver as come off of the waiver. All right, next slide. The other change, particularly around enrollment onto the DD waiver, is what is called this youth transition. So historically, if somebody was on the Children's Extensive Support or CES or the Children's Habilitation Residential Program or CHIRP waiver, when they turned 18, they would have the option to bypass that waiting list on the DD waiver and enroll right then, versus sitting on the waiting list that hovers somewhere around 7 to 10 years usually. So those kind of two populations of youth that were transitioning from children's services to adult services got to skip over that waiting list, recognizing they had a lot of needs and they could automatically enroll into the DD waiver if they met all of the qualifications for that waiver. That process will no longer be in place starting probably in July of this year. So those members that are on the CES or the CHIRP waiver have the option to join the waiting list for the DD waiver like anybody else does. And they can join that as early as age 14, depending on a variety of criteria, and can be on that waiting list. And then when their time comes up towards the end, they can choose whether they want to enroll on the DD waiver or not at that time, instead of getting to do so right at 18. A big part of this is to know is that you don't have to sit on that waiting list and not receive services. So that youth can access services on the SLS or supported living services, the EBD or elderly blind disabled waiver, or several of the other adult Medicaid waivers. They can access things like Social Security or SSI, the supplemental security income. So they can access a lot of other resources while they wait for the DD waiver. And then when their time comes to come off of the waiting list happens, they can choose whether they want to take that slot on the DD waiver or not at that time. All right, next slide. Couple things to note with these enrollment changes is that they're what we call these reserve capacity enrollments are still available in some situations. So the youth piece is no longer allowed just as a blanket option for CES and CHIRP members, but there are still these three options. So emergency placement, so somebody can kind of skip up on the waiting list or bypass the waiting list if they're experiencing one of these emergency situations. So some of those are things around homelessness, loss of income. It can also be loss of a primary caregiver or a primary caregiver that is no longer able to provide the same level of care because of their own health, their age, for a variety of reasons. Another one is if they're moving out of an institutional setting into the community setting, they do not have to wait on that waiting list for the DD waiver. And then also those youth that are in the child welfare system will still have the option to transition straight to the DD waiver if they meet that criteria without having to sit on that waiting list. So those safety net sort of options will still be available. Okay, next slide. Outside of the enrollment changes, there's another change that's happening to those that are already on the DD waiver or soon to be on the DD waiver. And that's this program called PETI, or Post-Eligibility Treatment of Income. So historically, for members on other Medicaid waivers who have been living in assisted living type settings or other kind of residential type settings, they have paid a certain amount of their income towards those services they receive in that setting. And that is not applied to the DD waiver, whose residential setting is more of this home residential setting. But that has recently been added to this. So these calculations, they take what their monthly income is. They get to carve away money that they pay for room and board, then carve away money for what's called the personal needs allowance. So money to pay for things like cell phones and other miscellaneous sort of expenses that you might have, Netflix, whatever it is. And then the remaining income has to be paid towards that residential services that they receive. So you can see kind of how the calculations work here, but it really is this formula for calculating how much the member has for their personal needs and how much will go to their residential agency to pay for their care. A big piece to note about this is that earned income excludes somebody from this, and that earned income can be a little bit of earned income, or it can be a really significant job. But having that earned income excludes somebody from this petty. So it will be most impactful for those who are getting that SSDI, as Kevney talked about, the Social Security disability income. It will be most impactful for those, and those that may be getting that disabled adult child income through that program will be most impacted. Those that their only income is that SSI should not be impacted by this because they will be under the thresholds for this. All right. Next slide. Then the last thing that I wanted to note in this is a program separate from the DD waiver, but this is just a Medicaid program that I think is often underutilized and can be really, really valuable as they're thinking about what plans are going to be for the long term and how do you get the services needed from the benefits program and still be able to achieve goals, work towards employment, all of the things that that member may want to work towards as part of their meaningful life. So a really great tool that we have in Colorado for helping individuals be able to keep the benefit programs they need and work towards those goals is this Medicaid buy-in for working adults with disabilities, or you'll hear it called WAD sometimes as well. So this is for anybody 16 or older. So you don't have to wait till 18. If somebody is 16 or 17 and has some employment, they can benefit from this program as well. They have to be determined disabled. That can either be through Social Security or through the state's process, their own. And there's no specific level of care. So each of the waivers has these specific level of care requirements. There isn't one specifically for the buy-in for working adults with disabilities. The member has to be employed to qualify for this program. And that employment can be a steady hourly job. It can be wages. It could also be self-employment. It could be somebody who gets paid to walk dogs for a couple neighbors in the neighborhood. Or it could be a job working at a coffee shop, or it could be a job as an attorney. It can be kind of a whole wide gamut of what that employment looks like. There's no specific minimum or maximum number of hours or minimum or maximum amount of income that they can make. They can make up to, after they do some funny math and disregards, 450% of the poverty line, which typically only counts about half of the income. So it can really be up to this sort of 900% of the federal poverty line if it's all earned income. And members pay a monthly premium in order to access that program. And that monthly premium is based on how much income that they have. So it allows people to kind of get this employment, but still access the Medicaid services that they need. That can include their healthcare and their prescriptions and their dental benefits and all of those pieces of Medicaid that are really valuable for maintaining services and the health and care as they move forward. A big piece to note is that this can be paired with a Medicaid waiver. So somebody could be on the DD waiver and Medicaid buy-in for working adults with disabilities, or they could be on the SLS waiver and Medicaid buy-in, or any of those adult waivers can be paired together with the buy-in program so that somebody can work and get those the Medicaid resources and get the community resources that they need. So it's a really great program to look into as people are looking at how employment is possible in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like, and how to maintain the benefits programs that are needed within that. All right, next slide. All right, so within this, we just have some contact information from all of us that have presented for you today. So you can reach out to us, our staff, and get some more information, set up one-on-one conversations, do the planning that is needed, and dive deeper in depth into your own one-on-one situation. Right.